Okay, let's go ahead and get started. So today we're going to be doing lecture 31, systems of equations by elimination, and we're going to be doing this by multiplication. So you have 6 problems that are going to be due by the end of the day. We're going to do 3 together, and then I'll get you to do the last 3 on your own. So let's check out number 5 on the classwork. Okay, so number 5 says 12x. Actually, it says 10x plus 9y equals negative 29. And then the second equation says 7x minus y equals negative 13. Okay, so last time we were doing this, we were seeing how we could add 2 lines or subtract 2 lines. Now, we can only do that if the numbers match up. If the numbers don't match up, we can't get 0x or 0y like we want. So what I need to do to make the numbers match up is I'm going to multiply by a number. I'm going to multiply the bottom row by 9. So to do that, and I'm going to change to yellow, I'm going to put the entire bottom row in parentheses like this. And then I'm going to multiply by 9 on the outside. So I'm going to multiply the entire bottom row by 9, but I'm going to keep the top row the same. So the top row is still 10x plus 9y equals negative 29. So the top equation stays the same. I didn't multiply by anything yet. But the bottom row, I'm going to multiply by 9. So that means every single number in the bottom row is going to get multiplied by 9. Okay, so 7x. 7 times 9 is 63, right? And I'll put an x beside that. And then over here on the y's, I have a negative 1, pretty much. So what's negative 1 times 9? That's going to be negative 9. And then the last thing I need to do is multiply the number by 9. I'm going to multiply negative 13 by 9. And when I do that, I get negative 117. Okay, so I multiplied everything by 9 there. And now I'm going to add up. So I'm going to draw my line underneath like this. And I'm going to put a big plus sign off to the side like that. And we're going to add the 2 rows now. So we're going to add up the x's, we're going to add up the y's, and then we're going to add up the regular numbers. But first, let's do the x's. 10x plus 63x, that's going to be 73x, right? Let's do the y's now. I've got 9y plus negative 9y. That's going to give me 0y. And since it's 0, I don't need to write it. I'm just going to bring down the equal sign. And then the last thing I need to do is add up the numbers over here. And when I add up negative 29 and negative 117, I'm going to get a negative 146. Okay, so what we just did was we eliminated the y's. So I'm going to cross the y's out. And now the last thing that I need to do to get x by itself is to divide both sides by that 73. So we're going to divide both sides by 73. And I'm running out of room, so I'm going to do it on the right side. So the 73s are going to cancel out on the left side. And then over here on the right side, I've got x equals negative 146 divided by 73. That's going to be negative 2. And since that's my final answer, I'm going to put a box around it. Or you can circle it, whichever. So now we know what x is. Now to figure out what y is, we need to substitute back in. You can choose either the top equation or the bottom equation. You can choose this one or that one. It doesn't matter which one you choose. I think I'm going to choose the top equation. So the top equation was 10x plus 9y equals negative 29. That's my original, right? And what I'm going to do is, since I know that x is negative 2, I'm going to replace this x with a negative 2. So this x right here is going to be replaced by a negative 2. And we'll see what happens. So I got 10 times negative 2 plus 9y equals negative 29. Okay, so now there's a couple things I can do. Since I have 10 times negative 2, I can multiply this. 10 times negative 2 is negative 20, right? And then I have plus 9y equals negative 29. So now there's two more things I have left to do. I've got to get rid of that negative 20 right here, but I've also got to get rid of this 9 at the end. So we're going to add 20 to both sides. We're going to add 20 to both sides. Right there and right there. The 20s are going to cancel out. And I get 9y is equal to negative 9. So now the last thing I have to do is divide by 9. So when I do that, I get negative 1. That's going to be my y value. So now I know what x is and I know what y is, so I can write my ordered pair. And I'm going to do it in blue down here. Remember that the x always comes first. So negative 2, negative 1. That's my ordered pair. So once you got your x value and your y value, you're done. But you got to find both. So let me show you how to check your answer. And we're only going to do this once. I'm going to go to my graphing calculator, and I'm going to type in the top equation and the bottom equation. So the top one was 10x plus 9y equals negative 29. That's that green line that you see. Now the bottom equation was 7x minus y equals negative 13. That's the purple line that you see. And where do they intersect? They cross right here. -2, -1. And that's exactly what I got right here. Okay, let's do number 7. So number 7 says -3x plus 3y equals 6. That's going to be my top equation. And my bottom equation is -x plus y equals 2. Now, to start off with, they're both in standard form because you got x and y on the same side. But the numbers aren't matching up, right? So the numbers in front of the x's, they don't match up. And the numbers in front of the y's, they don't match up either. But what we're going to do is we're going to make them match up by multiplying. What would I have to multiply the bottom row by so that the y's will match up? Think about it. I've got a -1 right here. I've got a +1 right here. 3. If I could get this 1 to be a 3, then they would match up, right? Now I'm going to multiply by -3. And you'll see why I'm doing that in a second. So we're going to multiply the bottom row by -3. But the top row stays the same. So I'm still going to have -3x plus 3y is equal to 6. But the bottom row is going to change, right? Because I'm multiplying everything by a -3. So the first thing that I do is I multiply the -1 by -3. That's going to give me a +3, right? Now let's do the y's. 1 times -3 is going to give me -3. And then on the other side, I'm going to have 2 times -3. That's -6. So I'm taking all the numbers and I'm multiplying all of them by -3. So at least the numbers will match up for the x's or the y's. So now let's add. We're going to add the 2 lines. Now, if you multiply by a +3, it would work, but you would have to subtract instead of add. That's the only thing. That's the only difference. So let's add up the x's. We got -3 plus 3. That's going to be 0. I'm going to put down a 0x. So they're going to cancel out. If you look at the y's, I've got 3 plus -3. So they're also going to cancel out and give me a 0y. And then I've got 6 plus -6. That's also going to be 0. So everything cancels out. So what we can do next is we can do 0 times x is 0. 0 times y is 0. And everything is set equal to 0. And then the last thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to add 0 plus 0. And when I do that, I get 0. Zero equals 0. Is that true? Yep. So I'm going to write true. And if it's true, then your answer is going to be infinitely many solutions. Infinitely many solutions. That means that when you graph the line, let's say the line looks like this, you can choose any point on the line and it'll work. So I could choose this point, it would solve it. I could choose this point, that would also be a solution. I could choose this point, this point, this point. And what I'm trying to say is there's an infinite number of points you can choose from, because the two lines are actually the same line. That's the trick. So that's what happens if you get a true statement. But if you get a false statement, it would be no solution. So a false statement would mean no solution. So keep that in the back of your head. That's the difference between true and false statements. Okay, the last one we're going to do together is number 9, and then I'll get you guys to do 6, 8, and 10. So let's check out number 9. Nine is 8x minus 10y equals 20. And 6x minus 7y equals 18. So I'm looking at this one, and they're both in standard form, so I'm probably going to do elimination. The x's don't match up, but the y's don't match up either. But what we can do is we can make them match up, right? You can do the x's or the y's. I'm probably going to do the y's. How can I make the y's match up? I've got a 10 and a 7. What can 10 and 7 both become? 10 and 7 can both become 70, right? They can both become 70 if you multiply them by the right number. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so how can a 10 become a 70? I would have to multiply by what? Let me write this, maybe it'll help. So how can a 10 become a 70? I would have to multiply that by what? 7. Yep. So I'm going to multiply the whole top row by 7, and hopefully that'll work. How can a 7 become a 70? You would have to multiply it by 10. Now for me, I would multiply it by negative 10. And you'll see why in a second. It's so we can add up at the end. So I'm going to take the entire top row and multiply it by 7. 8 times 7 is 56. Negative 10 times 7 is negative 70. And 20 times 7 is 140. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to multiply the bottom row by negative 10. I get negative 60 plus 70 and negative 180. So those are my two rows. And now, which of the numbers match up? The 70s are going to match up. Good. I've got a negative 70 and a positive 70. So to get to 0, you're going to add. So let's add the x's first. 56 plus negative 60, negative 4. The y's are going to cancel, so I don't have to worry about those. And then if I add up these numbers over here, I'm going to get negative 40. So we've eliminated the y's, right? That means that I can cross them out. So those are gone. And then the last thing I have to do is divide by negative 4. Divide by negative 4. And when I do that, I get a whole number for my answer. I get x equals 10. So I'll put a box around that since it's my final answer. So I know what x is. The last thing I need to do is figure out what y is. But that's easily done, right? I just have to substitute into one of those equations. You can choose the top equation right here, or you can use the bottom equation right here. It doesn't really matter which one you choose. And I think I'm going to choose the top equation. Okay. So the top equation was 8x minus 10y equals 20. And I know for a fact that x is equal to 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug that x number in for the x right here. And we'll see what happens. So I plug in 10 for x, and all I did there was I just replaced the x with the 10. That's all that I did. And now I can multiply 8 by 10 to get 80. So now I've got a positive 80. I can get rid of that by subtracting. And when I do that, I get negative 60 equals negative 10y. Because the 80s are going to cancel out. So then the last thing I need to do is divide by -10. And I got it. So I get y equals 6. That'll be my y value. So now I know what x is, and I know what y is. So my ordered pair is going to be 10, 6. And I always put the x first and the y second.